That's exactly right. But the sport of rowing will prevail.
Okay.
And especially here in Washington, either way, believe me.
The Friendship Cup for men, I meant to say, coming up right now. And let's look at the matchup. It is Washington, California, and we add one more crew. That is Cornell. Cornell, undefeated Cornell, coming in right now to race against the Huskies in California. And for the start of the race and the lane assignments, here's Bob Rondo.
Well, as we just saw, Bruce, California in lane 1, the south lane, the most advantageous lane. The Huskies in lane 2, Cornell in lane 3. Toughest lane assignment for the Big Red from Cornell, the Ivy League school in Ithaca, New York. This will be an interesting test for the Huskies, and the narrowness of the crew in the last race, the Women's Friendship Cup, with 2 crews, not so much a factor, but now with 3 Yuri Zaplatel, it gets to be a little more interesting.
Yes, we have plenty of space for maneuvering here, and we should see an excellent race between Cornell and California. I think the Huskies are underdogs in this race, and we will see how they can deal with it.
Husky coxswain Mike Chudzik has his right hand raised. That means he likes his position to start the race. We talk about lane assignments, and these are imaginary lanes because there are no buoys marking the course here in terms of lanes all the way down the course. You might, if you've watched the Olympics, for example, you'll see very flat courses with marked lanes. We do not have those here. Again, California in lane 1. Washington in the middle of your screen, lane 2. Cornell on the outside, on the upper part of your screen. This is the Friendship Cup, the men's junior varsity race. Washington with 2 wins in its school-to-school matchup with California so far. The Golden Bears won the men's freshman race. And again, Mike Chudzik, the Husky coxswain, he's from Washington, D.C. Interesting story. His parents are with the U.S. Foreign Service in Bangladesh, a country that, of course, has been much in the news of late with that horrible typhoon they had over there. Mike Chudzik's parents are fine, but the country not at all fine. Still staging. Chudzik with stroke of Rob Richardson in front of him. Toby Lupkin, Dylan Jackson, Jeff Seifert, Sean O'Brien, Kyle Enger, Greg Livingstone, and Hugh Dodd as we look down the Husky boat. Still staging. Getting ready now for the men's junior varsity race, the Friendship Cup here on opening day. The sun is beginning to pop through. The wind really hasn't increased a whole lot. Wind speed of about 10 miles an hour out of the south-southeast, blowing across the rowers out here on the top end of the race course. And what about the wind? Jurka, any factor right now?
Yes, of course. The lane 1, as soon as they get close to the Fox Point, will get a little more protection with this kind of wind. But the race just started, and let's pay attention to what's going on in the race course.
And of course, both the Huskies and California next to each other, trying to get off the line in a hurry. But if anything, the Golden Bears with the best start of the 3. The Golden Bears in lane 1. That is the bottom of your screen. As you can see, they have gotten off very quickly. Washington not far behind, and Cornell right next door. A good-looking 3-boat race now. Stroke rate for the first 500 or so meters, not that far. First minute or so, Jurka, going to be what, 40, 45 strokes a minute?
They will be between 40 to 43 strokes a minute for about a high 20-30 strokes right after the start. The key is going to be who can settle better in better rhythm and go quicker in that base rhythm through the race course.
California looks to be settling in very nicely. The boat at the bottom of your screen, as you can see, the Golden Bears have opened a couple of seats on Washington. Cornell and the Huskies next door to one another. Cornell in the outside lane. Cornell, a very up-and-coming program on the men's side, at least, in the East. Jurka, this is an excellent competitive school.
Yes, it is, and I think it's good comparison for the West Coast school to see where they are at this time of the season. Right now it looks, Bob, that California is slightly ahead of Washington, both stroking at 30 strokes a minute, and Cornell, I would say, just about seat behind Washington at this point.
4 seniors, 2 juniors, and 2 sophomores on this men's JV team. And remember, The competition is always open in a crew program. Some of these JVs may be rowing in the varsity before the season is out. The Huskies getting ready for the Pacific Coast Championships in a couple of weeks. Right now, though, they are sandwiched in between California at the bottom of your screen, Cornell at the top. The Huskies third in this three-boat race, a very close race at the moment. Let's toss it up to Bruce and Dick.
Okay, thank you, Bob. A good job. Now, we've got a helicopter shot here, and California definitely is ahead with about 700 meters into the boat race. I think it's going to be interesting, Bruce. California really was the aggressor coming off that line, and they've held it now for about the first third of the race. And Washington laying back 3/4 of a length. Cornell over there in the north lane is just a deck behind Washington. The question is, did Cal pay a big price for this? Because it looks to me like Washington Cornell is rowing a little more under control at this point.
The Huskies and Cornell, as you saw, about tied. The Cornell JV undefeated. They've defeated Yale and Rutgers so far this year. They are 2-0 in the season, and the coxswain in that Cornell shell is Dan Friedman from Franklin High School. So we're at the 1,000-meter mark right now.
And it looks like Cornell and Washington are still very, very close, and California is maintaining that 3/4 of a boat length lead. Now, Bruce, this is always, to me, the interesting part of the race. This is where the athletes really get tired. If they're not into second wind now, they're just going into it, and it's very, very exasperating. The crews under control are the ones that are going to pull that last 1,000 meters off. Now, Cal's just holding that lead. Those positions haven't changed for 500 meters.
Now, you say get your second win. How do you get that second win?
You have to force yourself into it. It's all part of training and whatnot. But you got to have the confidence of knowing all 8 athletes that you're going to go into second wind, into aerobic, and it's going to hurt. So this is where it's painful. But Bruce, they're right in front of us now. California is maintaining this 3/4 of a boat length lead. They have settled down. Washington now is starting to press Cal. We're less than a half a length between the 3 crews. And as we have entered the cut now, it's California, 3/4 of a length. Cornell and Washington tied for second place. This is going to be a great finish. The people on the bridge have really got a good shot at this one. But California holds their lead. They're holding their lead. Now they have 500 meters to go, Bruce. That's exactly 1 minute and 20 seconds. And this race is too close to call. Cornell now is they've taken the stroke up. They're moving ahead of Washington, and they're challenging for the lead. Washington maintains that 3/4 deficit. Cornell is moving by Washington as they go underneath the bridge.
And they've made a move on California now.
That's exactly right. At this point, I'd have to say, if somebody can beat California, it's going to be Cornell on the north lane. Now watch the steering here. This is also interesting. Cornell and Washington, they're almost overlapping oars. What's happening? I think the Washington coxswain's drifting a little too far. Cornell has been told to steer to the port, steer to the left. Don't make that turn. It's Washington that's drifting over. But now the race. It's Cornell challenging California. It's down to a 1/3 of a boat length.
Well, at 500 meters, Cornell really made a move.
They made a good move. But it looks to me like California is probably going to be able to maintain this half a length lead, 1/3 of a length lead they have over Cornell. California has toughed this one out pretty good. Now Washington, they're having trouble with their steering, have fallen into definitely 3rd place. As we come to the finish line, it's going to be the California Bears, 3/4 of a boat length over Cornell University, and Cornell 1 full length over the Huskies. A tough race, an interesting race, Bruce, in that from the 1,000-meter on, it was anybody's boat race. Cal had the lead, Cornell challenged, Washington had the opportunity, but we got to take our hats off to the Cal Bears. They pulled this one out.
Here's a replay now. We'll look at the finish of this race. California in front, Cornell second, and you know, California put on a little burst right at the end to pull away about 5 or 6 seats in front of Cornell, the Big Red, and Washington finishing last.
Well, what happens in the boat like with California? Hey, they're tired, they're hurting, they've been trying real hard to protect that lead. But when they get underneath the bridge and past the bridge, they could smell the finish line in victory. And I think they got that little extra adrenaline and energy that gave them a good sprint the last 10, 15 strokes.
So an impressive win for the California Bears over Cornell, with Washington finishing third in the Men's Friendship Cup. The Washington women won the first Friendship Cup of the day. California's Bears win this one. And we'll be back and we'll have more, and we'll get to the Windermere Cup races right after this.